wrote me back, and man, this guy is he's doing great. But he asked me some questions about eminent domain. One of his properties apparently is in the path of progress, and which, if you don't know what eminent domain is, they can take your property for the public good, okay, for the public good. And it's funny, I tell you guys, I've been doing real estate for a very long time, and because I've been so active, I've had so many different encounters of every kind you can imagine. Well, one of them is I had property taken from me by eminent domain, and it was a horrible experience for me. I was probably 27 or 8, probably about maybe 28 when it started. I just sold the cabinet shop, and like I said, I'd realized I was a millionaire up from the real estate, and I started to, whatever. I was kind of just doing nothing but real estate. But this was a prized property that I bought. I mean, this was a really prized property. It was in the path of progress. This is a town in Lancaster, California, and what they had planned, and I knew it was planned when I bought the property, and I'll tell you a lot about this story. It's kind of an interesting story, and we'll go look at it from Google Earth as well. In fact, let's jump over there right now. Let me see what I can do. Give me a second. Yeah. Let me pull out a little bit on this. Okay, so, Maine, here we go. Okay. So this is outside of Los Angeles, okay? This is where I got, this is where I started in real estate, is out here. This is a little desert community, okay? That's the desert. Just look at, there's Vegas way out there, okay? This is in California. And actually below me is, there's Pasadena over here, and then Los Angeles, and, anyways, just outside of L.A. This is all L.A., okay? Laguna Niguel, that's Huntington Beach. Here's one of my favorite places right here, Manhattan Beach. Bought my first beach house way over here in Ventura, right in here. I bought a beach house when I was I shouldn't say I bought it. I actually had it under contract, and I ended up flipping it, but I used it for 6 months. But that was out here, and it overlooked the Catalina Islands, wherever those are. Out here. Yeah, it was out here somewhere. But back to where, let's get to Lancaster. This will get us close. And stop there. So out here, I just got to look for the airfield. That was the big thing out there. This is Edwards Air Force Base. This is where they tested the space shuttle used to land out here. This is where the space shuttle would land when it was flying. In fact, when I was in 10th grade, when I was in 9th grade, I think, the first shuttle, this is like back in 1977. In fact, I'll show you something that's just kind of a little point of interest. Over here on, that's getting too close. I think it was, this is Avenue H. I'm a little bit off here, but anyways, they built this thing there's a lot of aircraft going on out here. That was the big draw out here. That was the big employer out here in the desert, was aircraft, was like Boeing, Lockheed, and stuff like that. And that's where my dad worked. And anyways, and I'll get to some questions here in a minute, but I want to tell you about this eminent domain. So let's see if I can get here another way. Over here in, let's have to follow the streets here. Okay, so that's taking me over to where my first property was, and I come back here, and let's see, where are the streets here? So they were doing a thing called the peripheral loop, and what they wanted to do is they were trying to make a route to go around town, okay? And what that meant is they wanted to cross this highway in 2 points. One here, here's my property right here. Oh, this is a bad time, I'll tell you. 'Cause things were great. And in fact, this is one of the first homes, not one of the first homes, but yeah, it wasn't one of the first homes, but it was the first HUD home that I had. Okay, and there's a funny story that goes along with. Oh, they tore it down. They tore it down. Okay, so check this out. Maybe we can just walk on the street if we can. Nah, it's a dirt road. Jeez. Anyways, so this is a house, okay? And let me pull out here just a little bit. And this is 2 lots. There's 2 lots here. One's like goes from this point. Actually, it went from here to here is 1 lot. Then the other lot is this. So this was 100. This was about 90 feet. And then this was about 600 feet. And those bastards down there at City Hall, they took by eminent domain this 1 lot. So the way this works is they want it. They're saying, we're going to take it. This is what it's worth. And it's a nightmare because they were only willing to give me like $1.75 a foot for my basically acre of land. Maybe it wasn't even an acre of land. But here right across the street, they bought all this stuff up at $6 a foot. And look at this. Look at the buildings. See, this, I was facing this. This was there. There's a beautiful industrial park right here, okay? And I was facing it. I was across the street from it. Well, they were trying to give me 1/3 the amount, less than 1/3 of what they paid for this over here. And a lot of that sometimes is just not being connected. And of course it wasn't, and that's what's not fair to a lot of people in city government. You know, if you go in there and get connected, you'll be treated better. But so they took my property, and all of a sudden I got $100,000 when I should be getting like at least. They should have bought both properties because they pretty much ruined the use of this. Because look at it, it's very skinny, right? It's like a skinny finger of land. And anyways, long story short, I had moved out of the area, so it wasn't convenient. I got, we go to court, and it wasn't long after we go into court, I get a jury picked and all this other stuff, and then the judge says, hey, it's my time to go on vacation. We're adjourned for 2 weeks, and we'll pick a new jury. So I wasted a bunch of time, had to go back, go through the whole process, and I'm flying back and forth from another state. And my lawyer was kind of a dipshit too, to be quite honest. And he was, and I just didn't know. I never really used an attorney before in that regard. And so, I was in my 20s. And anyways, I ended up having to take care of the whole case myself. Basically, I hired a forensic appraiser. If you don't know what a forensic appraiser is somebody that just specializes, that's what they do. They're intensely specialized on appraisals. And, the woman I hired was the highest credentials, and it cost me $10,000 back then for her. And she made a mistake too. She blew it too. She'd actually done, she'd done work for Aaron Spelling and all these, big stars and people. And, she was credible, and she was actually really good. And my attorney, we almost come to blows in the front seat of his car when we drove there, because I was just pissed. He misrepresented his experience is what he did. And anyways, so in the end, jumping ahead, we got into the jury, we got into our court date. We finally have our court date, and the appraiser, she made a mistake. She didn't get her exhibits marked, so her exhibits were kind of a mess. And once you put your exhibits in, you can't retouch them again. So, and these guys are playing hardball. They're trying to beat me down. I'd already had nasty words with the city manager there. He was a piece of garbage. Can't remember, his name was Gilly, I think. Anyways, but I really got a taste of how crappy government is. And I remember being interviewed by the local press, and I said, look at these guys. I go, everybody on this council, I said, not everybody, I said, but the 2 people in charge of this council that are primarily running it, I said, how good a business people are? They both have gone bankrupt, okay? And that's who's going to run our city? It's a joke. But you can tell I'm a little bit pissed still, and it didn't go away. But in the end, we get to court, and I ended up settling up with the opposition, And of course I got twice what they offered me. I got twice what they offered me. So you got to fight. You got to fight. Usually want to be the last to settle, and maybe if you're in with them, and maybe you can win it by being sweeter. I don't know, but I picked their appraisal apart. They showed paved roads where there were none. They showed dirt roads where there were paved roads in the vicinity of my property. So we really made them look terrible. But again, I'm the one who dug everything out. You don't ever think a lawyer's going to just do everything for you. They're not. Nobody cares like you, even if you ever have to employ a lawyer. And believe me, I've spent an incredible amount of money on lawyers before. And it's still, you got to do the work. You're the one that you're still the manager. You're still the manager. They're an advisor in the ways that they have some, and you want to make sure you get a really good lawyer. But in the end, I got double the money that I got. I should have made him buy the other one, but the lawyer I had was a dipshit. He was a nice guy. I felt bad. He'd been to Vietnam. He's a Vietnam veteran, so I, gave him a break for, for serving our country. But he just was not a good lawyer. But again, this got done, and I was telling one of the people in my mentorship class, he's facing a similar thing, and I think he'll do. I told him what he should do, what I thought he should do, and I think he's going to do all right with it. I think he's going to do all right. But anyway, so that's it. What else? What else we got? Let's talk about something else. Oh, I'll tell you one thing that was kind of funny is that because my lawyer and my forensic expert had both dropped the ball so badly that when I did settle up on the money, they had big bills for me. And I said, look, you screwed this up. And they granted, and they both agreed how they screwed up. And I said, so look, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to write a check, and it ain't the amount that you want. And I wrote the amount. I wrote a joint check to them. I wrote a check to both of them together, a joint check, because they didn't like each other. They blamed each other for different things. So I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to write a check for X amount, and it's far less than they owed. And I said, you guys can split it. And so I wrote it to both of them, and I just sent it. And then they had to go down to the bank together to cash it, to each take their half. And I said, that's all you're going to get from me. And they took it. Anyways. Who else has got something? Let's hear. Anything going on? I'll try to catch up here looking at the questions. But question, Tom, looking at 20 acres with 319, the 319 Act agriculture easement for taxes, yeah? How do you figure out a value if taxes need to be paid to revert back to being able to subdivide? Now, Lexington, I don't know a ton about that. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know a ton about it. And what he's talking about is you can buy a property that has an ag exemption. So you get taxed just peanuts on it. It's not bad at all. And then what happens is when you do find that, let's just say you have a piece of property that's worth $10 million and you're paying taxes on I don't know, $1,000 or $10,000. I mean, it's peanuts. You get the exemption, but you get it only if you have certain things going, like you have cows grazing on it or goats grazing on the property, and there's other exemptions beside that, but that's what it is. It's an ag exemption. So you don't pay full taxes. Otherwise, there's farms that probably never survived if they had to pay the tax that they have to pay. And, we need food, but we need meat, but we don't necessarily, you got to give them a break to make it work. So you can buy properties from farmers, and ultimately they land in other people's hands, and you can apply for an ag exemption, but it usually takes about 5 years to get it. And I wish I'd have done that on a property I held for 20 years, because it would have saved me, about $30,000 a year for 15 of those years. But the ag exemption, the way I last understood that it worked, is that, let's say you've got this property that's worth, let's just say it's $1 million. It's worth $1 million, and you've got an ag exemption where you're paying tax on as if it was worth $100,000. Well, when you sell it to me, the exemption can pass, or you can keep it. But the day you develop it, the day that you develop it and redevelop it, and let's say it's a piece of farmland and you get rid of the cows and everything, and now you're going to put up an apartment building. Well, when you go to develop it, you have to bring the property up to its, market to value. So, okay, let's just say it's worth $1 million. And now whatever the taxes are on $1 million, you got to go back and pay the tax on the million. You got to go back 2 to 5 years. So let's just say your taxes were, I think it's about that. Because I was looking at doing something like this with 30 acres, and I was buying for $750. I didn't buy it, but in the end, as I recall, I would have had to market the value, and in that case, the taxes would be about $21,000 a year. Because say it's worth the $750 that I'm paying for it, and now I'm going to build houses. So that what they do is they go, okay, it's $20,000 a year. You're going to go back 2 to 5 years. Say we go back 5 years, you owe us $100,000. You got to pay tax back for 5 years. And so it's great if you're going to hold. If you're going to hold more than 5 years, tax, the ag exemption is great. But if you're not going to hold it more than 5 years, it doesn't mean that much to you, because when you go to develop it, you got to pay back 5 years. Go back 5 years and pay. But it may be different in different areas, and there may be different situations. But that's kind of how it is. That's how it is in Texas, anyways, and I believe that's how it is in California too. Let's see. And I'll jump to these. Let's see, Tom, San Antonio in Texas, good place to invest. Yeah, anywhere. Doesn't matter. Look, I've been in rough neighborhoods. I've had what I call a C-class properties. Others probably call it a D. I would call it a C for sure. And they probably are like Bs now. They do get better in some cases. And I bought units for like $10,000 a foot. $10,000 a unit, a door, they say. And I sold them for $55,000 a door. And so I made, about $1.8 million just on one property, and I bought another apartment building next to that too that I think I paid, I don't know, $15. And I sold it also for $55 a door, or roughly. Okay, so that's it on the agricultural stuff. But yeah, the rollback, they call it the rollback taxes. That's correct. Yeah, I think it varies, different places. All right, so Alex, yeah, these cities are horrible. Yeah, agreed. Hey, good morning, Anne Marie. Sangster, Perkins. Hey, good. Glad you got your booklet, Chris. So Chris just joined the mentorship. He's going to be the second mentorship. So this is the book he's talking about. He just got. I send you an organizer, just like I use. And anyways, so if you have my book, you can join my mentorship. But you can't join unless you already have the book, and you have to have read it, by the way. If you want to see that, go to FlipAnythingUSA.com. But excuse me, what else? So did anybody watch that stuff yesterday? The thing I did on Chris Crone, which I got a follow up to that one too. So anyways, yeah. So do you guys like this format when we go into a video and we watch it together and, pick it apart or diagnose it, whether good or bad? Let me know if you like that stuff, because I'll either do more of it or I might do less of it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. And, so Risha asked me about a property. Actually, I don't even know if I could find it. Let me think about that. Let's see if I can find that property. Yeah, so he's asking me to go into detail. I talk about a property that I bought for $2,000 an acre, and I sold it for $7,000 an acre. And it's kind of an easy one to spot because it had water tanks on top of the hill. Let me see if I can find it. There's Pear Blossom Highway. Gotta think this is that it? Oh, it may be getting developed. Let me look. Huh. Oh, no, that ain't it. All right, so this is what this is maybe I'll find it, maybe I won't. But this is a little town. outside of Lancaster in Los Angeles. And I found this property. I bought it from this old guy, and I remember when I went talking to him, and he told me, I said, well, what do you think this property's worth? And he said, I think it's worth millions. And I go, well, how much do you want to sell it for? He goes, I'll sell it for $140,000. And I was like, wow, okay, I'll take it. And so I had doubts that it was worth millions, and I was starting to feel kind of played by him because I wasn't quite sure, oh, this is it right here. This has got to be it. Anyways, and so what it was is it's along the highway here. I don't see it, but it looked a lot like this, and this might be it, where you kind of go up a hill, but it was like this whole area from the top of the hill all the way down, and this may be it. Yeah, this has been 20, probably 30 years, maybe 35 years ago. Yeah, because here's the deal. There was this was the high point. This was the high point in the area, this ridge. And so I remember there being a water tank. So I'm trying to find, if I find the water tank, it'll be easier for me to spot and show you. But I can see when I see this, I thought, well, maybe they're doing something. But yeah, basically I got a property owner financed. I put $30,000 down. Anyways, I bought it for $140,000, $35,000 down. So he was carrying $105,000. I put it back on the market. I put it on the market, I should say, and I sold it for $520,000. And of course, the agents, I had to pay the agents. There's 6% out of that, right? So just say 36,000 or something like that. So there was $490,000. And so I got some cash. It seemed like I put about 30. Oh yeah, because I put 35. So I got my 35 back. Plus I got, I don't know, it seemed like 20, 30,000 cash. And then I got a note. I got a note for 2,000. No, I got a note for almost 300,000. Okay. Sorry, it's coming back. It's been a long time. But I was getting paid $2,450 a month on this note. So roughly $30,000 a year. And it was nice. It was a great note. It was a great deal, to flip something around like that. And in fact, I think I just found the property right here. Yep. See that water tank? This is it. Is there a street name? Yeah, it's called 111th Street now. Yeah, so it's developed some. Yeah, it sure has. Yep, that has to be it. In fact, we can try to do. I remember this was the highest point in the area. Let's see if we can see anything else here. There's 2D. Because there was a significant marker somewhere around here. This might be it right here. Yeah. God, it's funny. The memories come back on this stuff. Yeah, maybe it was up here. Anyhow, this looks like this is a little higher. I kind of forgot. The water tank was there, but it was hidden from the road. So this isn't the highest point here. This is carved into the hill. But it's... but anyways, yeah, that's it. But yeah, I just remember, it just seemed like such a cool thing, such a magnificent, huge piece of property, still pretty young, and but it was like this rectangle here, like this was one side of it, as I remember, the outside of it, and then it went out here, and then came back down, and now I can see it's developed some. Somebody's built a home here. Maybe somebody broke it into 5-acre tracts. Kind of looks like it. You know what I mean? Kind of looks like 5-acre tracts now. Huh. But, so I made some money on that. Is there anything else you want to know about that deal? Ultimately, the guy paid on it for several years, and then he ended up going. He ended up he was buying land like crazy, and he would borrow money against land, or he'd borrow money against something he made that was a great deal to buy something else, and he got way over his head. And is an Iranian guy, and anyways, he ended up just deeding it back to me later on, and then right after he deeded it back to me, he had somebody that wanted to buy it, and so I ended up selling it to the guy that he wanted. He was hoping that would buy it while he still owned it, but he deeded it back to me because he couldn't make his payments anymore, and then I sold it to somebody he knew, and then anyhow I got paid off $200,000 cash for it, and I gave him a piece of that, or maybe it was $240,000, and I gave him I think $20,000 or $40,000. So even though it was just working together, things get tough sometimes for people, and you got to be careful not to get over your head. See, you look at all this. I mean, there's just so much desert. You can make money anywhere, right? I mean, believe me. This is like no man's land. I mean, there's way worse than this too. There's people that way out in the hell out there, and they have a well, and somehow they got power, and but you can make money anywhere. There is no bad real estate. There's just bad deals. Don't make a bad deal, and you'll always do well. But you can make money anywhere on anything. Okay, let's go back to the questions here. Okay, Hunter, I'll have to look at your question here. I don't understand why you're... Okay, so to be completely honest here, lost some motivation when I seen that the workbook examples in your book are typed up rather than the real thing. Those are the real thing. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, there's forms there that look a little bit rough, but that's a little bit by design. Those are 100%. Everything in there is 100% real examples. I mean, I don't give you the address and the phone number of the people that I bought property from or sold to, but yeah, those are 100%. Even the plat maps that are in there, Hunter, are there. Dude, I'm doing it right now. You said, obviously you can't share all of the real details. Dude, I'm giving you the details to the best of my recollection, and I'm showing you the actual properties. If anything, I underplay. I mean, a lot of times I'll say, if I think I made 200, I'll say I made 150, because I don't ever want to exaggerate anything that I say to anybody. Okay, Miguel Ochoa, can you do a review on Thatch Win? I don't know. Maybe. I'll take a look. I kind of tend to like, if I'm going to do a review, I'd like to do a review on somebody that everybody knows. Because then at least the handful of people that are watching them that are actually serious about making money in real estate, they join and then they buy my book, but they're serious and really just looking for people that are really interested in making money. Where's a good place to look for apartment units? Anywhere there's apartments. Risha, also, how long until you expand on neighborhoods you have on lookout? Well, see, I got a weird problem right now. The economy is really, really good, and it still seems to be for the most part. But pre-pandemic or whatever you want to call it, people had money, people were ready to buy, people had loans approved, and then all of a sudden this stuff happened and things froze, and now we're like 3.5 months or so into it. Well, that money is now... Everybody's rushing to get that money invested. Now, some people are changing their philosophy and they're, buying further out in the suburbs. Excuse me. New York, everybody's leaving New York. I mean, the mayor and the governor, I mean, they're the worst. And they're like begging people to come back, which isn't going to work, because they get taxed terribly. In fact, I just read the other day, I think that if you refi your property in New York, they want to tax you on what you refi. They want to just take a piece of the money that you're pulling equity out of. I mean, that's a non-starter, right? Okay, Andy Berry. Tom, agents' fees are very high in the U.S. at 6%. UK agents charge, you know what, Andy, the rates here in the U.S., it's negotiable. You can negotiate anything. When I give somebody a listing, I usually just give them 1.5%. I say, look, 1.5% to the listing agent, the one that I'm hiring to sell my property, because that's like a gift. Here, put it on the market. Someone's going to buy it. You're going to make money. It's pretty much a gift, other than fielding some phone calls and sending out some emails. I mean, they don't do a ton of work. They might have to meet the buyer's agent, to show the property, whatever it is. But that's about it. It isn't a lot of work. So right off the bat, you can negotiate right up front. I got a listing, I'll give you 1.5%, and I want 3% to the selling office. So it's a 4.5% listing. And your agent that you hire say, well, you can have the whole 4.5% if you sell it. And generally agents kind of say, oh, I've got my system and I know I got the greatest contacts in the world, and with my network, which is usually the MLS or LoopNet, but really they just got to put it on the market and somebody's going to find it and they're going to make money. It's the buyer's agent that really does the work. The buyer's agent is the one that is like looking for what, what makes him the most important is that he has a buyer. Okay. That's what makes him so important. And you don't want to say, you can't skimp on the buyer's agent. Otherwise he'll say, well, shoot, I'm not even going to show my client this if it only pays 1%, but I'll certainly show my client a property that pays 3%, because that's generally the max. But I can tell you, I've put properties up at a 10% commission. And I did that because I wanted to just motivate and incentivize everybody in the loop, because I wanted to get it sold. In fact, that's one of them that I did it with. That property there, this is funny. I think I put a 10 or 12% commission on that deal, and the agents never even noticed it. So when they sold it, they put on the sales agreement, where it's got the portion about the broker and the sales fees, they put 3%. So they got 3% of that deal when they could have had 6, I think. So let's see what else we got here. What made that land valuable? Listen, everything's got value. Everything you're looking at, all that barren desert, those hills that are tougher than hell, everything has value. Sometimes it's what people project. If they think they're going to be having a view and build a home up here, maybe they think, hey, you know what, I'm going to put in a golf course. Everything's got value by what it can be used for, And then when you get into cities where there's more of a population, then they really get into the zoning. And then your values are based on exactly the use. What is the property's use? And then if it's not really in a spot to get the highest and best use out of it, then you go to there and you do what they call either get a variance, so you can do something different than it's zoned for, or you get it rezoned completely. And right now, that's a real pain in the ass right now, because right now, it used to be you'd go in and you'd sit and you'd meet and talk to somebody or a group to get like a rezone, and then they'd schedule, meetings and stuff like this. Well, now they're doing everything by email. And a lot of these guys, believe me, they won't pick up their email for like 5-6 days. And so things are moving really slow. That's one of the reasons I just backed out of a deal that I had, is because I realized the process, the bureaucracy that is already horrible, almost, it just makes you very angry. To make it even worse, now you can't even see them. You can't even go down and complain or beat on the counter and yell at somebody that's not doing their job. Now, all you can do is email and hope they write you back. And so things are dragging on and taking way longer than they should. I can tell you from experience, even way back, I build properties, I build homes, I build buildings. And so I go in and I bring in my plans, architect's plans and drawings. Well, you want to get them approved. So you go in there, they go through an approval process. They stamp it, they call it red stamp. You get a red stamp, it's approved. Then you go and you build your home. Well, it used to be you go in there and you could go through the plans with somebody that's competent behind the counter, and they look at everything and they go, yep, okay, looks good, stamp. 15 minutes or 30 minutes of review. Well, when things would get slow and there aren't a lot of stuff in, there wasn't a lot of plans coming in, all of a sudden it's like, we're very busy right now. I'll take a look at this a little later. They're not busy, but they need to look busy so they don't get the axe or get, moved somewhere else. So then all of a sudden, even though things are slow, the guy that approves these plans has 5 or 6 sets of plans on his table. And, where before if he was busy, that stuff he'd be passing it through in 15, 20 minutes, and now it's 3 days. It's got to sit around first. So there's just all kinds of stuff. It's just government. It's just a big, it's like a herd of cows, to be quite honest. In fact, one time I described it that way at a council meeting. I said, you got all these employees out there just grazing between the cubes. Yeah, it didn't go over very well. Let's see what else we got here. Flipping Mastery. I don't know him, but I'll take a look at him sometime. I'm so busy, guys, to be honest. It's hard for me to even take a break and do this, but I do it because I know you guys have an interest. And I want to, and I got plenty of students in here now, too. I want to make sure everybody's covered all the time. Okay, Hunter, thanks for the explanation. Wasn't trying to be rude. No, I don't even know what we're talking about. What's your approach on a new developing city? Should I try to place my targets in older cities? I mean, you know what? This has reminded me of this Chris Crone video. I watched the second part. In fact, I made a video I got to put out here later today. And he's investing somebody else's money. Well, he's like, we're going to find 6 or 5 houses in 6 months. Big accomplishment. You can do that in a week the way he does. You can do it in a day. But anyways, so he's going out and he's taking these people's money and he's investing it in buying a brand new home. Okay? Dumbest thing you could do. With some exceptions, but it's dumb what they're doing. But again, yeah, if you go into an older area, if you go into brand new stuff, it's all brand new. You got to pay full price for it. You have to. They just built it. They just bought the land. They just built everything. Everything's brand new. So everything, somebody just paid for it recently. So you're not going to get a big discount on anything that's brand new. Now, buy something that's been around 10 years or more, it's been paid for. It's been at least paid way down. So whatever they paid for it, they bought it for a price that's probably less than what the values are today. Plus, they paid down their mortgage, so there's even more room. And, of course, your objective is to buy it as cheap as you can and get it under market. And you can't buy anything under market that's brand new. I mean, that's a freak of nature if you do. It's just not the norm because they just bought it. They presumably, the guys that built it, just paid all the bills and he knows what he's got to get to cover those bills. But, so yeah, go to existing. And the really best thing about existing properties, okay, there's a lot of good stuff about stuff that's pre-existing. For one thing, in general, in residential areas, the lots are bigger, okay? The lots are bigger. Trees are more mature, large, mature trees, which is a plus. Trees are an asset on properties that are, on residential properties, good trees. You can have some bad trees that aren't so good. But then the other thing is when it comes to commercial properties, like it could be a restaurant, it could be a office building, industrial building. Well, they didn't have the standards then when they built those. They didn't have the requirements for drainage, detention pond area, what we call impervious cover, and non-impervious cover. Those have to be in a certain ratio. It varies. But it's the water flood. It's the water runoff control. And that the old standards were such that you didn't have to have a detention pond in most of the stuff. So you could put, say, a 20,000 square foot building on an 1.5 acre lot, okay? Now you need, minimum 2 acres because now you have to have, a 1/4 acre maybe of it almost dedicated to flood runoff and pervious cover, meaning, the stuff that water can soak into. Let's see what else. Flip. Hi, Peter North here. Great. Should I refinance my home for more profit from another home? Yeah, if you have equity in something, I mean, it's your call. If you want to hold, I mean, here's the thing. if you buy a property under market, okay, great, you can flip it. But if you feel strongly that it's going to go up in value, you can because you bought it under market, you can take a chance in speculating. I'm not a big speculator. I mean, I am more now than ever, but it's because I got a lot more money now than I did when I was younger. When I was younger, of course, I want to turn it, realize the profit, and just keep, because the cash, I was making cash with my cash all the time by buying and buying and buying and buying off of what I've sold. The more I sold, the more money I had, the more I could do. And then in the end, when I had more cash than I needed, I kept cash on reserves. And then I started keeping buildings that rented that had cash flow, some houses a little bit. But then I got turned on to commercial building. It was the first thing I ever bought. So I've loved commercial and office forever and industrial because people got to work. Like, you know what? I just rented a warehouse yesterday. For I won $6,400 a month, but I actually wanted the tenant, and it was a tenant that has been in town for a very long time. In fact, they spent 35 years at their previous place. So I thought, I want these guys. And they said, well, we got this and that moving around, and we really like it. We really, really like it, but it's just a little bit out of our league. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the first year $5,000 a month. And next year it can be $6,400, or if things go to hell after the end of the year, then we'll negotiate. It'll be somewhere between $5,000 and $6,400 a month. And so they signed the deal. They went for it. So you do what you got to do to get people in. But listen, it's wonderful to have property bringing in money. Now, if you want to pull the equity, and there's fine. I mean, look, you either pull the equity out of the property by selling it, or you pull the equity out of it by borrowing against it. And borrowing against it, it is fine. That's fine. I'm about to pull like $1.6 million line of credit on a property that I have that's worth roughly $3 million, and I'm having that money on standby for any deals that come up. And I tell you, there's a line of credits like that, but there's also what they call a drawdown note. And the way that works is similar. The way that works, you got a property that's worth, say, like this one, $3 million. They're going to give me a drawdown note for $1.6 million. And what they're going to say is, we're not going to charge you any money, except we're going to charge you half a point. So it's going to cost $8,000 to establish this line. I call it a line. And then what you can do is, if I see something that's a great deal, I just write a check. $300,000, write a check. $400,000, until I burn up this money. And maybe I won't burn up any of it. But maybe it's like, okay, great. Well, I had it sitting there on reserve for something that came along. It cost me $8,000. So what happens is, you have this line of credit that you can use as you need it, and at the end of the year they go, okay, stop. And then whatever you've used, that amount rolls into a long-term note that you pay on over a period of 10 years or whatever you bargain. So it's a drawdown note. You use the funds as you need them, but there is a deadline. At the end of the year, they're going to say, okay, boom, it stops. It doesn't stop. In other words, you no longer get to keep drawing down. Now you get to finance whatever that balance is. It's financed over a period of years. That's all. So let's keep looking here. Get these questions. Yeah, Hunter, I know you. Yeah, they're there. I mean, unless you're I think you could be in a totally brand new community, but just look anywhere that's existing. Yep, no problem, Peter. Yeah, I would not own a sports bar. I've owned one. I don't like any of that stuff. Everybody, the cooks, I mean, of course, the bartenders are the worst because they pour for tips. They're pouring your alcohol for tips. All right, and Risha, you said that once houses reach 350 to 400, it's not worth renting out anymore. Oh no, yeah, that's truth. Yeah. I mean, everything on a house. The numbers are great under 300,000. I mean, they can maybe reach as much as 6% return. But in general, when they start getting over that amount, the cap rate goes down. So in other words, just because the house is worth more, it doesn't mean everybody can afford it. And so what happens is the landlord says, well, that your taxes go up on the property because the value goes up, but the rents don't keep up, is what I'm trying to say. They're not pro rata. They're kind of pro rata from 100 to 300,000, but then after that it starts to decline. The return just goes down, and that's where I'm at with a bunch of my houses. And I knew they were going up, and so I didn't mind holding on to them. And like I said, I'm kind of sitting on 3 right now, just waiting. I have 4 houses that are empty, sitting empty right now. And I don't even want to sell them at the moment. It's a great time because things are good, but I don't want to realize the gains and have to pay the taxes right now. So I may just I'm trying to wait a little bit, and I'll sell them as I find things to buy, and that's what I'm going to do. So back to Risha. You said, yeah, that's the thing. That's the deal on the houses. And as far as commercial, no, the commercial, it's not the same, and there's a reason for that. Houses can become more valuable than commercial property per foot, because if it's in a desirable neighborhood where people want to live, they're buying the house not based on cash flow. Because they're not renting it. They're buying it because I want to live here. It's important I live here. It's where I'm, it's for whatever the reasons are that they want to live in this neighborhood. And it's that emotion and that desire that if you want to live in a place, you'll pay more than what is economically feasible for a guy that buys rentals. So the guy that buys rentals can't buy there because it's just too much. He can't get a good return on his money. So, but with commercial is always based on numbers. The value of commercial property is based on the return, the cap rate. How much money does this commercial property bring in? Now, rents can go up, the value go up. As long as you can bring the rents up, that's what brings the value up of the property by showing what the rents demonstrate they can return. Whatever, as long as the rents are going up, the property's going up. And that's kind of the rule, really, for everything. As long as the rents, somebody will pay it, then everything kind of becomes worth more. You can justify it. All right, what else? Anyways, back to my question, since it's slowed here on the questions. This format, looking at other people's videos, this is what I'll probably watch next. Does that appeal to any of you? Do you guys like that? I mean, I get a lot of people do like it, but I don't know if it's a lot of the times it brings in the people, and a certain percentage of the people that say watch Chris Crone or meet Kevin, they'll end up going, oh, hey, they're the more serious of the bunch, and then what I'm offering appears to them. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on that. And how long have we been talking? Personally, I think the format is great. Thanks, Risha. Yeah, well, I like it for me because it's easy. I don't particularly like recording and editing. It's not really my thing. So the streaming thing has been a blessing. Okay, Lexington. Just commercial has the advantage that business may want to lease rather than buy because they can use cash to put in their business. Well, I mean, believe me, every business owner wants to own their property. You just do. I mean, I've been that guy. You want to own. That's how I started. You want to own the building that you're in. You just don't want to feel like I'm stuck. I'm subject to whatever the landlord charges me. I mean, that's kind of what it is for a lot of people. But you could change that. Excuse me. All right, back to my question. Anybody else? But I appreciate that, Risha. All right. Hey, I can't see how long we've been on here, but I think it's been a while. If you don't have my book, get my book. If you want to know more about the mentorship, go to FlipAnythingUSA.com and take a peek here. But yeah, so anyways, I think I'll call it quits here, guys. We got one more question here. How do you identify a property or land that has potential? I mean, it's not hard. I mean, if you got a house that has a 4-lane road on it, that's a lot of traffic, okay? That one lends itself. I mean, if it's got 4 lanes instead of just, 2, then it's going to handle more traffic, which makes it more attractive for a place to have a business, because, you know, those vehicles per day, VPD we say, those vehicles per day going by are potential customers. And the fact that they can look over and see a sign in your yard, that's like advertising. That's got value too. You know, I'd tell people some of my properties, I say, you know what? I go, look, just the sign on the street is worth the price of rent, and it is. In fact, one time I was promoting. Thanks, Miguel. One time I was promoting my cabinet shop. I had my cabinet shop, and so I bought the trailer that the big rigs pull, right? And this trailer could not be used anymore on the road. It was, it was not good anymore. It was a problem with the bearings or something. I don't know what. It just wasn't up to their code. And so I bought it for like, I don't know, $1,000. And I had these guys paint it, and then I had them make a giant sign on both sides. And then I parked it on this guy's industrial lot on the side of a very, very busy thoroughfare. So it looked like a brand new trailer with a, sparkling. It looked like it was like the truck that would be used to deliver my cabinets, but it wasn't. It was far bigger than anything I could use or need, and never had a truck to pull. But so it served as a 40 by 10 foot high by 40 foot long billboard. It's like twice as big as a billboard, and I had that on each side, obviously. So, anyways, a lot of things you can do to make money, and you got to think outside the box, and to promote yourself, your company. Get that Spiff Me app. Get that Spiff Me app. If you want to be able to network to people and let them what you do for business to get more business, get the Spiff Me app. And but you can also use the Spiff Me app yourself. It doesn't cost anything, and you can use it to make your own account, saying I buy homes, or I buy property, I buy land, and let people know that if they go into the app and give you a link, or or connect you to somebody that's selling something, that you'll pay them a commission. So and I'll write that in here too, just so you guys can see it. Spiff Me app. What else? Hunter. Yeah, I was a little bit hard on Kevin with the cringy thing. I shouldn't have probably done that, but I like Kevin. I think, and I don't consider him like some of these other guys. I don't think he's I don't think his investment stuff is all that worthwhile to people that are starting small or don't have much money. But I don't see him as, he's not asking for people's money the same way that like Grant Cardone and Chris Crone are. So a little different. Rob, can or how do you sell a home you purchase through owner financing and still owe money on? Okay. Oh, by the way, I'd do something with Kevin. I would. In fact, I used to own property in his neighborhood. That's where we were just at over by on the Ocean Drive. Can or how do you sell a home you purchase through owner financing and still owe money on? Rob, do you have my book? Just get my book. That'll answer a lot of questions, and it's only $10. You can get it on Kindle and have it in your hands in a couple of minutes. But to get to your question, you sell it the same way you bought it. You get somebody to finance it, and then you pay on it, and then if you want to sell it, you can, unless you created an alienation clause, they can assume the note that you've already created with the person that you bought from. And then, just charge the difference, or maybe take out a second as well. I've taken seconds. I bought properties so cheap that they assumed the first, I created a second, and then they gave me cash for the difference. Or a lot of times you just get cashed out for the difference, and you let them assume the financing that you already put in place. But, hey, that's it. I'm going to call it quits, guys. I got some other stuff to do. In fact, I got an employee that we got to have lunch for. It's a birthday and something like that. But I'll let you guys go. And thanks for watching. And I'll have another video coming out, I think. And then I'm going to be on tonight at 7 p.m. Me and Chris will be here. So I'll see you guys later.